Alright, so this is my first video blog, and I want to share my experience with finding and tracking down an MT10. But first, I want to talk about why I wanted the MT10. Back in 2018, I purchased a 2018 MT07, and out of all my bikes that I've owned, the MT series by far is my favorite motorcycle to ride. It really connected with me, and I just didn't get the same feeling with other motorcycles as I did with that motorcycle. So I had been looking for a used MT10 because they're extremely hard to come by right now, just because of production and COVID and everything going on. It's crazy that you can't go out and buy one. So I found a used one back in July of, what was that, around July 20th. Started a conversation with the guy on Facebook. He seemed sincere and trustworthy, but the story that I'm going to tell you guys is not one that was fun, because I didn't end up with a bike. But so on July 20th, I started having this conversation with this guy on Facebook, and he had a 2021 Yamaha MT10 with 700 miles on it. He had a bunch of extras done. Throughout conversation, he seemed pretty sincere and legit. We started off with a good rapport, and we decided to move it to text messaging off of Facebook Marketplace. So the conversation continues to 2021, and we're trying to work out a day that I can go drive from St. Louis to Nashville to get this thing. Okay, so we're messaging back and forth, and I'm just gonna kind of read the text message so that you guys can follow along. He tells me he's driving back, and this is Thursday. He's driving back from Texas. He's available to show the bike anytime, late Saturday evening, early Sunday. So sends me a bunch of pictures of the motorcycle running and the LED lights on it. Everything sounds good, looks good. I asked him if he did a tune with the aftermarket exhaust. He says yes. I did an ECU flash. He asked me when I'm thinking about coming to Nashville. So I'm looking at flights, and this is on the 21st, which is Thursday. Looking at the first flight Sunday morning, it would get in 8:20, and he says, yeah, I'll be in Nashville then. And then he responds back, I do have its first maintenance scheduled for Monday, so I'm looking at flights on Sunday, and he's now telling me that its first scheduled maintenance is slotted for Monday. I respond back, yeah, a fresh oil change would be nice to ride back to St. Louis. What time is your service scheduled for? He says the Monday, the first thing, 9 o'clock. He's telling me it should be done by noon. So I respond back to him, okay, let me look at flights on Monday from St. Louis to Nashville. And I respond back, hey, I found a flight arriving 10:55 Monday morning. And then I went ahead and booked it, assuming that the service schedule would be done, by the time I get in. He says, okay, sounds great, that works. And then he asks, cash? And I respond back, cashier's check, don't feel comfortable traveling with that cash. Let's see. I told him that I'd send a picture of the cashier's check to, reiterate the fact that I am serious about purchasing this motorcycle, and asked him if he would hold it for me. And he agreed. He said, yeah, I'll hold it for you, no problems. He's supposedly 10-15 minutes from the airport, so a quick Uber ride over to his house would be great. It wouldn't have cost me that much. Let's see. So on Friday the 22nd, I pick up the cashier's check. I snap a picture minus the routing numbers and everything with his name on it, and we're good to go, right? I've got the flight booked for Monday. I've got the cashier's check. I've already had the conversation about all the stuff that's been done to the bike, title, make sure that it's a clean title. Yep, everything's good to go. So on Saturday the 23rd, around 2 o'clock, I get a text message from him. Hey, just got off the phone with a service dealership. I responded back, and he responds, they pushed the bike service till Tuesday because there's technicians are swamped. I told him, he says, I told him that our situation and how I needed it to be done Monday, but they said that nothing could be done. So I respond back to him, any way you could change the oil, because right now I have a flight booked for Monday, He responds back, if you want, I could change the oil myself. It's not a big issue. Only problem is the check engine light is on. And now this is the first of hearing about this, because I questioned him, everything's straight with the bike. And this is what he is now telling me. He won't be able to clear the check engine light. So immediately in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, what's going on now? So I call a dealership, verify if you're going to get a check engine light or a service light for the first 600 mile service, and they said yes. So I'm like, okay, so it's not a big deal. He's got the service light on. He's telling me he's got an appointment for the service on Monday. Cool. So now the service got pushed to Tuesday, and he's telling me 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So now I'm at the crossroads. I need to cancel my flight, and I think I'm just going to drive down. So I have a trailer, and so now I got to do trailer maintenance, because I'm going to drive down there. All right. I go to inspect my tires on my trailer, and I find some dry rot. So I'm like, okay, I got to replace the tires. So take them off, take them up, get them remounted, brand new tires on there. And I'm like, okay, well, I haven't serviced the bearings for a while, so I might as well repack the bearings. So I spent all day replacing the inner and outer bearings, packing them, got everything lined up, ready to go. I'm feeling good. Asked my son to join me, so we made a good road trip out of this. So we pack up Tuesday morning, and we leave here about 6 o'clock in the morning, and we head out. We travel down 55 into Cape Girardeau, into Illinois, through Illinois to Kentucky, and then into Tennessee from there. The road trip itself was fun. Everything was good. Had no issues with the trailer. Bearings held up. Just as we're getting into Kentucky, Tennessee border, I send this guy a text message. I'm like, hey, I'm about 45 minutes out. I said, where do you want to meet? And he didn't respond. So I had gotten his home address and everything, so I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going in Tennessee, you know. At least I had the address. So I just made the decision to go to his house. So I get to his house and go up to the front door, knock on it. His roommate answers the door, and he's like, so-and-so isn't here. I'm like, well, yeah, I was coming to look at the bike. I think it's out at the shop right now. And he's like, I didn't even know the bike was gone. So we go back to the garage, look, bike's gone. And he calls his roommate, gets him on the phone, and we talk, and he's like, yeah, I'm out to lunch with my sister. The bike's at the shop. They said they'd give me a call when it was done. I'm like, okay, cool. They haven't called you yet? Nope. And this is probably, excuse me, about 11:50 or so on Tuesday. Let's see. This was about 12:30ish. Okay. So he sends me over the address for the shop, and we head over to the shop. So I get there, and I'm talking to a salesman, and they're like, oh, you must be the guy that's going to buy the bike. You know, it's a sweet looking bike. And I was like, yeah, it is. Where is it? And they tell me it's back in service. I asked them if it was done yet, and they didn't know. They said that I had to go talk to the service guy. So I went back, saw the bike. The bike looks good. It's a little dirty. The chain doesn't look well maintained. Had some rust on the O-rings. Probably lack of chain lube. So I'm talking to the service writer and questioned her about when the bike is going to be done. And she's like, well, I can't tell you that because we don't have appointments. It's first come, first serve. So I questioned her about this guy's telling me he originally had an appointment on Monday and you guys pushed it to Tuesday, and they're like, that's impossible because the shop's closed on Monday. So now I'm like, oh God. Okay, so my son and I, E-Man, we kind of look at the bike, and the bike looks pretty good. Like I said, it's just a little dirty, and the chain needed some TLC. And we go out, and I'm killing time, kind of waiting around, expecting this guy to show up, the owner to show up. And we go out to the truck, and I have the conversation with my son, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't like where this is going. He's lied about the check engine light, and I just found out about the check engine light, assuming that it was a service light. And go out to my truck, and we sit around for 45 minutes to an hour. After I text them, like with no response, I texted them, hey, just FYI, I'm sitting in a shop parking lot now. Spoke with a service. They said it's first come, first serve, that they didn't make appointments, and were unwilling to tell me when the bike would be done or looked at. He tells me I'll give him a quick call. Hour and 20 minutes go by. I ask him if he's close to the shop, And he responds back a half hour later saying, I'll be there at 4 o'clock. You know, he's got to take his sister, he's been out to lunch with for the last 3-4 hours, across town and drop her off. So we're looking at 3 o'clock right now. I sit down and I'm just kind of pondering in my mind. I'm like, do I really want to wait around, because they can't give me a time that the bike is even going to be looked at? If they could put it on a reader and it says that, you know, it's a CO2 reader because of the exhaust and it not being tuned, which he quite possibly could have lied about, I would not have an issue with purchasing that bike, because I've got a bench tuner here. I could tune it. I'm not worried about it. But the fact that they couldn't get it on the reader while I was there, I'm not going to buy a bike with a check engine light unknowing what the problem is. So I texted him back. I said, I'm going to go ahead and leave. And there was no response, no apology, no nothing. I mean, conversation just was dead from right there. So of course I'm kind of bummed, and I held my composure because I didn't want to seem upset with my son and everything, and he was very supportive. Long story short, you don't know who you're dealing with, and when you start seeing small triggers like red flags, this guy got caught in multiple lies. And it wasn't until I showed up in Tennessee, Nashville, that I put everything together. That's ultimately why I bailed on the purchase. So my son hops on the internet and somehow finds a 2022 MT10 brand new out of Rich's Yamaha, which is located like 30 miles south of Chicago. And I'm like, really? All right, that could be good. Had him look up distances and everything, and I'm like, well, I do have a flight voucher. I could fly in there to Chicago and then maybe come down to Lockport, Illinois, where Rich's is located. And I'm like, this could be good. I said, why don't we get home and then I'll call him and see. So we get home, and it was a 623 mile round trip from St. Louis to Nashville and back. So I spent over $200 in fuel. I spent $400 in trailer maintenance stuff, including tires and bearings and all that stuff. So granted, that needed to be done anyways. I didn't. So, but all in all, me and my son had a great trip. Had fun, bonded, which I couldn't ask for more. So we get home from Nashville around 6:30, and we go up to the neighbor's house, drinking a beer. I think the total trip was almost 12 hours, kind of decompressing. And my son forwards me the information for Yamaha, Rich's Yamaha, and I jump online and they close in 20 minutes. So I call them up, and a lady by the name of Misty answers, and I asked her if they have, Cycle Trader showing that you have MT10 in stock, and she's like, let me check. Yep, it's the Raven Black. And she tells me the price, and I'm like, okay. So they're getting ready to close in like 10-15 minutes. So I just kind of thought, okay, yeah, this is probably going to be the best situation. Buy it brand new. That way I have all the knowledge and everything, and I'm not going to end up in a situation like I did in Nashville. So I sit on it overnight, and I call him first thing in the morning the following day, and I said, would you guys be willing to take a down payment on it, and I'll figure out how I'm going to get there? And she's like, yeah, I'll take a down payment. So I gave her the down payment, and I told her within the next 5 days I'll work out an arrangement. So I'm starting to look at flights and stuff, and I'm like, well, hell, I've taken a train to Chicago, you know, for March Madness, and I'm like, the train ride would be pretty cool. Let's see if I could work out how to get from Joliet, which is the closest stop to Lockport, and I'm like, that'll work. So I call up Misty, and I'm like, hey, I'm considering taking a train ride up to Joliet. Would anybody from the shop, it's like 10 minutes from the train station, it's like, would anybody from the shop be willing to give me a ride, you know, pick me up from the train station? And she said, yeah, I'll send my dad over there. Cool. So the day of my train ride comes up, I had my neighbor drop me off at the train, took the train up to Joliet, and in between like Bloomington, there was a huge storm, and I was like, well, hell, I checked storm, you know, weather in St. Louis and Lockport, and it looked good, but I didn't check in between. And I'm like, this is around 9 o'clock in the morning. My train left at 6:40. I'm like, well, I should be good. The storm should be cleared out, and I should have good weather on the way back, looking at the weather radar and everything. So I get into Lockport around 12 o'clock. Mike, the owner, picks me up and takes me to the shop. They're waiting there, and I'll put some pictures of the first time I saw the bike following this video, and we'll kind of go over the MT at that point. So I get there, everybody's like super chill and nice. I go see the bike, and as soon as I turned the corner, I saw the bike, and I was like, damn, this was a better choice to buy the new MT10. I instantly fell in love with this bike, just visually. I couldn't stop looking at it. Went out, looked at it, did a 360 of it. Everything is great. Brand new. I think it had 2 miles on it, according to the certificate of origin. So I go inside, do all the paperwork, ask them if they have any accessories for it. I was looking to purchase a comfort seat, because I had heard the comfort seats, you know, with a 303-mile drive back to St. Louis from Lockport, I was like, oh, this is gonna be kind of rough, you know. So all the paperwork's done. Misty tells me I could pick something, you know, I wanted to get a new pair of gloves. So she's like, yeah, pick anything off the wall. And I ended up picking up these awesome, hold on a sec. These awesome Alpine Star gloves right here. Super comfortable. They're solid. I couldn't be happier with that. And for them to give them to me for free, it was pretty nice. So I went through the safety talk and everything. You know, they showed me how to operate all the modes, and you know, I've had a lot of motorcycles, but to be honest, I was a little leery about this motorcycle because, you know, it's a 1000cc. You know, I started off on a a Honda Shadow 600 when I was 18, and then I bought a Sportster 1200 Custom, and then I had a Fat Bob, but nothing like what this bike has power wise or torque wise. So I was kind of nervous. So when we were going over all the service talk and safety, you know, all the electronics and everything, I told him that I wanted everything to the highest setting, you know, your power setting, you know, the most intervention. I had it put in D mode, rain mode, full traction control, slide control, you know, lift, all that stuff. It was all enabled. So I put in the coordinates on my phone, and off to St. Louis we went. And I'll tell you, the bike is awesome. Hands down, my favorite bike of all of them.